We have discussed yesterday constitutional status of president, and we have discussed that president is constitutional head of nation, constitutional head of state, but he is not rubber stamp. He cannot be considered as rubber stamp. So if president is not rubber stamp, then what is the importance of the office of president? We know that two thoughts coexist. First, he is constitutional head, he is nominal head, he is de jure authority, but he is not rubber stamp. Being nominal head of executive, being constitutional head of nation, he is not rubber stamp. What does it mean? It means there are few occasions when he can play his vital role. So what are the vital roles of president? Being constitutional head, being nominal head, is the importance of the office of president, is the significance of office of the president. So in what manner we can understand the significance, the importance of office of president? First, he acts as guardian of the government, and also he is custodian of our constitution. So he acts as guardian of the government. What does it mean, acting as guardian of government? It means if there is any requirement of guidance for government, then president is there. Then president can provide any fair guidance to the government. For example, when Rajiv Gandhi was prime minister and R. Venkatraman was president, then at that time also there was crisis in Sri Lanka, but this was not financial crisis. This crisis was related to Litte, Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. It was the largest terrorist group at that time. Now we have Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and many more terrorist groups are there. But at that time, it was largest terrorist group of the world, Litte. And who were the members of Litte? They were Tamilians. And what is the origin of Tamilians? Is Tamil Nadu, India. Most of the people in Sri Lanka are Sinhalese. Two communities are dominant in Sri Lanka. First is Singhali, second is Tamils. And this terrorist organization was created by Tamilians for their separate nation. They wanted to create a new nation for themselves. Therefore, they started some agitations, after some movements, then some violence, and after some time they became terrorist group. And it was very difficult situation for us, for India, to handle the problem of Litte. Because if we want to support Sri Lankan government, then we can lose our support in our country of Tamilian people. And there may be agitation of Tamilian people in our country, in Tamil Nadu, and it had happened at that time. So at that time, we were not in situation to support Sri Lankan government outrightly. And in similar manner, we were not in situation to support our Tamilian people because they were acting as terrorists. Therefore, we were not in situation to support them. Then when these grave situations emerged in decade of 1980, then what should be done by our government? Each and every aspect of foreign affairs related to Sri Lankan policy was decided by the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on the advice and under the guidance of R. Venkatraman, the then president. Because he was experienced person, first. Second, he belonged to Tamilian politics. He was Tamilian, the Tamil basically. So he belonged to Tamilian politics. So therefore, for each and every aspect of foreign policy related to Sri Lankan affairs was decided by the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi after the discussion, after the consultation, after the guidance of the then President R. Venkatraman. So President is guardian of government. He can guide government, he can advise government. So, and he has acted in this manner from time to time. From time to time. Second thing, he is custodian of the constitution. We have discussed that President takes oath of what? Of what he takes oath? He takes oath to protect, to preserve, and to defend the constitution. Therefore, he is custodian of constitution. No doubt, he is de jure custodian. He is not de facto custodian. Who is de facto custodian? No. 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 Yes, one thing is only left. That is Supreme Court. So correct. It is Supreme Court. So Supreme Court is de facto custodian of Indian Constitution. When question is asked in preliminary examination that who is custodian of Constitution, then what is the answer? The answer is Supreme Court, not President. Both are custodian of the Constitution. Both are. Question has been asked in IAS examination, in other examination. Who is the custodian of Indian Constitution? So, if there is option of President, Supreme Court, then answer will be Supreme Court. Both are custodian, but Supreme Court is de facto custodian of the Constitution because he has, because Supreme Court has right to give any judgment, right to prevent any activities, right to nullify any law amendment. So it is de facto custodian of the Constitution. But President is also custodian of the Constitution. No doubt it is de jure custodian of the Constitution, but it is custodian of the Constitution. So he ensures the compliance of the Constitution. That is, government should act in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. So it is the duty of President. Next thing, President can provide guidance for establishment of good governance. What is good governance? Good governance means government should act in proper manner for the welfare of people, for the interest of people, for the interest of nation. So it is good governance. We can say there should be no chance of malgovernance. Malgovernance means bad governance. So there should be no chance. If there is no chance of bad governance, then it is obviously good governance. So what will be the nature and scope of good governance? It can be guided by President also. And President has provided guidance sometimes. For example, we have discussed yesterday the concept of Pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas. It was focused on the development of rural areas in our country. Because without overall development of rural areas, we can't imagine the development of our country. So development of rural areas is an essential and indispensable part of the development. So it was focused by then President Dr. Kalam as he guide government for Pura. Also, in case of coalition government, when there is coalition government, then President always plays vital role. What is the role of President in coalition government? We will discuss. But he plays a vital role when there is coalition government in our country, that is hung Lok Sabha is there. Also, we have discussed that according to Constitution, President has right to send any advice to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration under Article 74(1). If he thinks that the advice given by Council of Ministers is not proper, is not fit, then he can send it for reconsideration, and President has used this power. When K.R. Narayanan was President and Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister, and other examples are also there, then Council of Ministers, that is Prime Minister, advised to President for President's rule in state of Bihar. But when it was advised by Prime Minister, then President sent it to the Prime Minister for reconsideration. And it was a very good example that it was not again sent to the President after reconsideration. It was not again sent. So it has been, there has been good examples of this Article 74 clause 1. And also President is authorized to assent on any bill, therefore he can withhold his assent on the bill, that is he can use veto on the bill, and he has used pocket veto on post office amendment bill we have discussed. And in this manner, President had protected our right to privacy at that time. And in that decade, it was decade of 1980, in that decade, right to privacy was not declared as fundamental right. But at that time, when it was not declared as clearly declared as fundamental right, at that time he protected our rights as privacy, right to privacy. So it is the duty of President to play a vital role in our system, being constitutional head. So because he has some opportunities to play vital role in our system. Being constitutional head, therefore, we say that president is not rubber stamp. Okay, so we can write it. Heading is the importance of president, the importance of president, the importance of president, or we can write it is not rubber stamp. President is not rubber stamp, or we can write president is not rubber stamp. On the ground of following facts, on the ground of following facts, we can conclude that president is not rubber stamp. President is not rubber stamp. Though it is constitutional head, though it is constitutional head, though it is constitutional head, that is, there are some opportunities in our government system, that is, there are some opportunities in our government system when he can play vital role, So, first point, he is custodian of constitution. He is custodian of constitution. He takes oath. He is custodian of constitution. He takes oath to protect, to preserve. He takes oath to protect, to preserve, and to defend the constitution. To defend the constitution. Next point, he plays role of guardian. He plays role of guardian of the government. Therefore, when government is in trouble, when government is in trouble, then president can guide to the government. President can guide to the government. For example, in decade of 1980, for example, in decade of 1980, the role of president, the role of the then president R. Venkat Raman, role of the then president R. Venkatraman. During crisis of Litte, or crisis of Sri Lanka भी, you can write Sri Lanka also if you don't want to write Litte because it is bad element. You can write good element and you can write Sri Lanka instead of Litte. So next point. He can use the power of reconsideration, given in article, oh, came back, given in article 74(1). It is intermittent, I think. For example, when R.K. Narayan was president, K.R. Narayanan, sorry, not R.K., K.R. Narayanan, when K.R. Narayanan was president, then when K.R. Narayanan was president, then he was advised by Council of Ministers. He was advised by Council of Ministers for President's rule in Bihar. But he sent it back. To the Council of Ministers. For its reconsideration. And therefore, President's rule could not be imposed at that time. President's rule could not be imposed at that time. Next, President has right to assent on bills. President has right to assent on bills, or he can use his veto power. In the interest of people and nation. For example, when Post Offices Amendment Bill was passed by Parliament, and sent for the assent of president when post offices amendment bill was passed by parliament and sent to the president for assent, then the president Jail Singh used his power of pocket veto Therefore, it didn't become law. Next, president can give guidance or advice to the government for the promotion of interest of people and nation, and also for the establishment of good governance, For example, the concept of pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas. The concept of pura for overall development of rural areas, concept of pura for overall development of rural areas was given by President Dr. Kalam. Next point, he plays vital role in coalition government. So this is the significance of president or importance of president, and he plays vital role in this regard. And next, we can write next heading, role of president as guardian of the government. Role of the president as guardian of the government. So if question is asked that president can play a good role for good governance, president can play role of guardian of government, then what you should write. So we can write some points, because when Murmu has been elected as president, then all are saying, all are writing in newspaper, now we can work well for tribal welfare. It means we didn't do any work for tribal welfare because there was no tribal president. So what we are writing, we should think over it, what we are writing. And first thing, president is de jure head. All the decision, we have separate ministry in union, at the level of union government, as Ministry of Tribal Affairs. We have separate ministry for tribal affairs, and it has been working continuously for all matters related to tribal affairs since long. So being a tribal president, first thing, the classification of president in such manner, that is, he belongs to scheduled caste, he belongs to scheduled tribes, he belongs to such and such community, it is not fair. It is not fair. We shouldn't write in this manner. It is not fair writing. President is president. It is constitutional post. So we should not classify the president who is going to become a president is tribe, is SC, is XYZ, is ABC. We should not write like this, but newspapers got masala and they are writing for their sale, and people are reading very interestedly. Yes. So interest. Sorry. Yes, of course. Newspapers are changing the narratives. Newspapers are changing the thought. Not only newspaper, no, print media, electronic media, both are involved in this degradation of our system. It is a degradation of our system. We should not think in this manner that we have scheduled tribe as president, we have scheduled caste as president. No, we shouldn't think in this manner. We have president, this is enough. We have president, this is enough. So, but it has been in discussion when Murmu was selected as candidate of presidential candidate, and now she's president, that now we can work well for tribal affairs. So, what is the actual role of basically president? President is no doubt de jure authority, but we have written that he can use some powers, he can use some opportunities given in the constitution or otherwise for the guardianship of government, and he has placed some examples we have written. So if question is asked that he is guardian of the government, comment, or he has played well role as guardian of the government or not, what do you think? Write with some facts, some reasons. Then what should you write? So we can write some points. Role of president as guardian of the government. First, he takes oath. He takes oath to serve the people and nation. He takes oath to serve the people and nation, along with to protect the constitution. to protect, preserve and defend the constitution, or to protect the constitution? To protect the constitution. Therefore, as per need, as per requirement, as per need, he plays vital role. He plays vital role as guardian of the government. As guardian of the government. For example, when on the matter of intolerance, when on the matter of intolerance, government was being criticized, government was being criticized by some groups, government was being criticized by some groups, then President Pranab Mukherjee, then President Pranab Mukherjee came into light, as guardian of the government, as guardian of the government. And also he made an appeal, and also he made an appeal to the people of country to stop the violence, to stop the violence and to maintain the peace and harmony in country, to maintain the peace and harmony in the country. In 2015, it was 2015. Next point we can write, he can use his power, given in proviso of Article 74(1), given in proviso of Article 74 clause 1, and he can send any advice, to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration. He can send any advice to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration. Next point, he can use pocket veto as per requirement. He can use pocket veto as per requirement. Next, he can send message to the parliament. He can send message to the parliament. Next, he can guide to the government for good governance. He can guide to the government for good governance. Next point, role of president in good governance. Next heading we can write, role of president in good governance. Or we can write role of president in good governance, or in 21st century. We can also write in 21st century. So on the basis of discussions we have done, we can conclude that first point we can write, to advise the government, for better, to advise the government for betterment of people, to advise the government for betterment of people. For example, pura, we can write pura, given by Dr. Kalam. Next, to guide the government for overall development of the country, for overall development of the country. For example, Vision 2020, document of Vision 2020, document of Vision 2020, prepared by Dr. Kalam, was given to the government, to make India as developed country, up to 2020, So time has gone, but of course, so this was document, it was prepared by Dr. Kalam. Now it is book, it has been published in form of book, Vision 2020, written by Dr. Kalam. So he prepared this document when he was president on the basis of his own experiences, and he presented this document to the government. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was prime minister at that time, and he wanted that government should act accordingly. That is what vision has been given in the document, and not only vision has been given, how we can achieve such vision. There was some guidelines for the compliance of each and every vision, but unfortunately government didn't take any step for implementation of goals which have been mentioned in Vision 2020. So next point, president can provide guidance for political reform, administrative reform, financial reforms, electoral reforms, etc., etc. For example, some guidance were given by Dr. Kalam for political reforms. Some guidance were given by Dr. Kalam for political reform. For political reforms. So basically, Dr. Kalam used to write letters to the government, and he has written many letters to the government regarding many issues, and one issue was reform also there in his letter. So next point, president can motivate people of India for active and positive participation in government. So it has been done, and it has been done by Dr. Kalam, and it was a unique work, we can say, which he has done in his term. When he was president, he was only president when any letter is sent to president. Anyone has right to send the letter to president. You can also write letter to the president and you can send it to the president. So when it is received by presidential office, then office of president prepares the reply of each and every letter, if he thinks so fit. Only then, that is, reply is necessary then, otherwise not. But we have only president Dr. Kalam when any person has written any letter to him, or any person has sent any mail to him, then reply was given by to that person personally by Dr. Kalam. He said, no, it is not the duty of my office. He has written to me, so it is my duty to write. And reply was given at that time by Dr. Kalam personally. So it is very fortunate that we have such type of president in our country. So he wanted to connect people, he wanted to motivate people, especially youth, and he has written his book especially for youth. You should also read this book. The name is, sorry, what is the name? No, the book is written for you. You don't know. The book is written for you by Dr. Kalam is Ignited Mind. Is available in Hindi and English both. The book is Ignited Mind. It is especially written for the youth of our country. He addressed our youth through this book basically. So it is very good book for our youth and has been written by Dr. Kalam. So you must read it. Must read it when you have time. I think only 100 and 125, 130 pages will be there, not more than that. So you can read in 1 or 2 sittings. You can finish the book. So lump sum 100 pages are there. So you can finish in 1 or 2 reading. And very interesting. He has written in very interesting manner this book. So you should read. So this is the role of president in good governance. Now the role of president in coalition government. Role of president in coalition government. So we can discuss it first, then we can write. What is the role of president in coalition government? When there is no coalition government, then president is bound to appoint prime minister, the leader of majority party of Lok Sabha. Then he can't use his discretion for the appointment of prime minister. But if there is coalition government, what does it mean? It means that there is hung assembly, hung Lok Sabha, and no party has got majority in Lok Sabha election, Lok Sabha general election. Then who will be the prime minister? It is the discretion of president. We have discussed that president can appoint the leader of largest party as prime minister, the leader of largest coalition made after election as prime minister, the leader of largest coalition made before election as prime minister, or if there is no largest party, if largest party is not involved in forming government and many other small parties come together and they want to form the government, then leader of all these group of coalition can be appointed as prime minister by the president. It is his discretion. It cannot be challenged in court. It is his discretion. He ensures that who is going to give a stable government in our country, because frequent election is not good for our country and not good for financial health of our country. Therefore, there should be no frequent election in our country. Therefore, if one time election has been done for 5 years for Lok Sabha, then president should think that he should appoint a prime minister in this manner that he can work for the whole term of Lok Sabha. So he has discretionary power to choose any one of them, which we have discussed, and he can appoint anyone as prime minister. So when hung assembly is there, hung Lok Sabha is there, coalition government is there, then it is the duty of prime minister, it is the duty of president to choose prime minister. Second thing, if coalition government is there, then in general we have weak prime minister. Who is prime minister? Prime minister is real head of the executive. Prime minister is leader of the council of ministers. Prime minister is leader of the Lok Sabha. But if there is coalition government, then prime minister cannot act in such manner when he can act as having majority in Lok Sabha. He cannot act in such manner, because when he has majority in Lok Sabha, when his party gets majority in Lok Sabha, then he is controller of council of ministers. He acts as controller of council of ministers. But when there is no one party who has got majority in Lok Sabha, coalition government is there, then he can't act as controller. He acts as coordinator. The role of prime minister becomes coordinator. Now he is coordinator. He makes coordination, not he controls. When he has majority, then he controls. When he doesn't have majority, he doesn't control. He only makes adjustments among ministers, because all ministers do not belong to their party only, to his party only. All ministers belong to different parties, and all parties have their different agenda contrary to each other. Therefore, it has been very difficult to make adjustment among all. But it is the duty of prime minister, because if he is not able to make adjustment or coordination among all ministers, then he will lose his confidence in Lok Sabha, and he will not able to enjoy his term as prime minister. Therefore, we say that when there is coalition government, then we have weak prime minister, and it will be very difficult situation for president when president has weak prime minister. He is not able to lead all the ministers of council, and in this situation, president plays vital role. President can help to prime minister, not only can advise. President can help to prime minister to maintain the coordination, to maintain the adjustment and harmony among ministers. He can discuss any issues, any disputed issues with any minister, and also with prime minister, and he can help to prime minister to make coordination among them if it is needed. That is, what does it mean? It means that when he is doing so, and prime minister is not thinking that he is interfering in my matter, then he can do so. If prime minister can think that he wants to interfere in my matter, then he will not do so. Because he is de jure authority. But in this manner, he can help the council of minister, and president has helped as per requirement, as per need. Next point, what we can include: if we have coalition government, and we have discussed that prime minister becomes weak prime minister, then many political demerits can take place, like corruption in politics, criminalization in politics. So many political demerits can take place. Many political illness can take place. And in this situation, President has right to guide the government to take a step to curb the corruption, to take a step to stop the criminalization. So President can guide to government so that government can take measures to stop the corruption, to stop the criminalization, and to stop the misuse of any power. For example, when Dr. Kalam was president and Dr. Manmohan Singh was prime minister, then we had some issues at that time. There was misuse of concept of office of profit at that time, and therefore Dr. Kalam wrote a letter to prime minister to stop the misuse of office of profit. When he was prime minister, MMS was prime minister, then there was big issue of corruption in politics, corruption in administration, and criminalization of politics. To curb the corruption and to prevent the criminalization of politics, many letters had been written at that time by Dr. Kalam to the prime minister to curb the corruption and to stop the criminalization of politics. So in this manner, President plays vital role in the condition of coalition government, because the condition of coalition government is not normal situation. We can say it is a situation of crisis. So if there is crisis, because it is the situation of crisis, so if there is situation of crisis, then President should play his vigilant role, being constitutional head. He should play vigilant role as guide. And no doubt we have seen that Dr. Kalam had played vigilant role in coalition government, because he enjoyed his term when Prime Minister was Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh. He worked with two Prime Ministers, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh. And in both regime of these Prime Minister, government was coalition government. Therefore, he had always played vigilant role for the interest of people, for the interest of nation, because he takes oath to serve the nation, to serve the people. So he is not rubber stamp, and Dr. Kalam didn't play his role as rubber stamp in his term. So we have many president in our country. She is 15th president. So we have now 14th president who has completed their term. But we remember always Dr. Kalam as good president, because he was very vigilant as per his role, and he played vigilant role in their term, in his term. So we can write a role of president in coalition government. President, we can write in point, first point. President is constitutional head. But in coalition government, But in coalition government, his role becomes more vital. His role becomes more vital. Second point, when any party gets majority in general election of Lok Sabha, when any party gets majority in general election of Lok Sabha, then president is bound to appoint prime minister of majority party of Lok Sabha. President is bound to appoint prime minister of majority party of Lok Sabha. Of majority party of Lok Sabha. President is bound to appoint prime minister of majority party of Lok Sabha. But if hung Lok Sabha is there, if hung Lok Sabha is there, then who will be appointed as prime minister? Who will be appointed as prime minister? Comma. This can be decided. This can be decided by president on his own discretion. On his own discretion. On his own discretion. It can be decided by the president on his own discretion. Next point. In coalition government, the position of prime minister becomes weak because now he can't act as controller of council of ministers. He can't act as controller of council of ministers. In this situation, he is required to act. In this situation, he is required to act as coordinator. He is required to act as coordinator of council of minister. Therefore, if there is any crisis in functioning of government, therefore if there is any crisis in functioning of government, then president can advise can advise or help, can guide, not advise. President can guide, not advise. You should write guide. President can guide or can help. President can guide or help to the government. President can guide or help to the government. Next point. In coalition form of government, in coalition form of government, term of government is not stable. Term of government is not stable. Therefore, it is required. Therefore, it is required for the president. Therefore, it is required for the president to be vigilant. To be vigilant for any crisis. For any crisis. Next point. In coalition government, coalition government, political demerits can take place. Therefore, in this situation, president can play vital role. Therefore, in this situation, president can play vital role. For example, Dr. Kalam had written letters to the Prime Minister, during coalition government, to curb the corruption, to stop criminalization of politics, and to stop the misuse of office of profit. To stop the misuse of office of profit. So, this is the role of president in coalition government. So, we have discussed president in very detail for pre-examination and main examination both. So, after a discussion of president, now we are going to discuss next organ of our executive, and next part or organ of our executive is vice president. So, vice president, we are going to discuss vice president now. We have adopted the concept of vice president from America, from USA. In America, there is office of president and vice president both, and the office of vice president has been created for the continuation in office of president. That is, if office of president is vacant, then immediately vice president can act as president. So for continuation in office of president, this post has been created. Only one reason is there for the creation of post of vice president. So if office of president is not vacant, president is healthy, he has sound health, and he is not going to vacate his office before the completion of term, he is not going to resign, then vice president is unemployed, because he has no work to do, because only work is there to act as president in any contingency, to act as president in any contingency. So for this purpose, that is to stop the unemployment of vice president, it has been decided that he should preside over meetings of upper house. He will not be member of upper house, but he can take part in meeting of upper house, and when he takes part in meeting of upper house, then he will preside over the meeting of upper house. So he is ex officio chairman, not chairman. Chairman is full timer. He is ex officio chairman of Senate in America, and he is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha in our country. So this is the duty of vice president, to act as ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. There is a difference between chairman and ex officio chairman. Chairman is full timer. It means that when he is in house, then he is known as chairman, and when he is not in house, then also he is known as chairman. But in case of ex officio chairmanship, he is considered as chairman only when he is present in house, not otherwise. If he is not present in house, he will not be considered as chairman of Rajya Sabha. If he is present in house, then he is known as chairman of Rajya Sabha. But when he is out of Rajya Sabha, when he is not present in Rajya Sabha, then he is not known as chairman is Rajya Sabha. Then what is the identity which he has? The identity is vice president. Then he is known as vice president. So two identities are simultaneously which he can use. First, he is vice president. Basically, he is vice president. But to remove the unemployment of vice president, it has been decided that he will act as ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. That is, when he is present in Rajya Sabha, he will act as presiding officer. That is, he will act as head of Rajya Sabha, but not full-timer head, part-timer head, only when he is present in Rajya Sabha. So part-timer head is known as ex officio head. Okay. So only these two functions are given for vice president. Article 64 says that he is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, and Article 65 says that if office of president is vacant, then he will act as president. So these are two duties. Now, what is the method of election? How he can be removed from his office? We can discuss these things. So first of all, what is the use of office of president? We can write for continuation in office of president and election of vice president. Article 66. First of all, we can write Article 63 is also important. Article 63 we can write. Simply it states that there shall be vice president of India. Only the thing which has been written in Article 63, a very short statement that there shall be vice president of India. So Article 63 is about existence of vice president. So we can write Article 63 first. There shall be vice president of India. Okay. Article 63, there shall be, right? Article 63, there shall be vice president of India. Now election. Article 66. Basically it is Article 66 clause 1, but not sub clause is not required. Article 66 is for election of vice president. Two things are there for election. Who elects vice president? First thing. And what is the method of election? What is the manner of election? Second thing. Both things are given in Article 66. For president, there are two separate articles. Who elects president? Given in Article 54. We have discussed, it is the Electoral College of President. And what is the manner of election? It is given in Article 55, 54 and 55. Both articles are there for election of president. And for vice president, both provisions are given in same article. So what is the Electoral College? Electoral College means who are voters. Electoral College means group of voters who are voters in election of vice president. Who are voters? Election is going to take place. So election is going to take place now. So members of both houses of parliament, not Rajya Sabha only. So vice president is elected by members of both houses of parliament only. That is, the members of state legislative assemblies don't take part in election of vice president, though they take part in election of president, but they don't take part in election of vice president. First thing. Second thing, in election of president, only elected members of both houses can take part, can participate. Only elected members of both houses can participate. But in election of vice president, all members have right to participate. So all members. That is whether they are elected or nominated. Elected and nominated, both members have right to participate in election of vice president. So this is the electoral college of vice president. Next part, what is the manner of election? This is the electoral college. Manner of election. It is similar to election of president. Indirect election will be there. Proportional representation, system, and if no one gets majority, then single transferable vote through secret ballot. We have discussed these things in the election of president when we have discussed. So this is the manner of election of vice president. So similar to election of president. Okay. Next, qualification for vice president. It is also given in Article 66 in sub-article 3, clause 3. So, first thing, he should be citizen of India. Very first thing, he should be citizen of India. Not by birth. Not by birth. In America, this is condition. In India, this is not condition. Minimum age 35 years. If he has attained the minimum age of 35 years. Next, he should be eligible to become a member of Rajya Sabha. He should be, you should write, he should be eligible to become a member of Rajya Sabha. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means that his name must be registered as voter in any state. This is the only condition which we have for Rajya Sabha as per our law. So, he must be eligible for member of Rajya Sabha. And fourth qualification is, he should not hold any office of profit. Fourth is, he should not hold any office of profit. He should not hold any office of profit. And president, vice president, governor, and ministers of union and states are not considered as office of profit. You can write in note. President, vice president, governor, and ministers of union and state are not considered as office of profit, not considered as office of profit. President, vice president, governor, and ministers of union and states are not considered as office of profit. And what is the term for vice president? Simply, it is 5 years. From the date when he enters upon office. You can write from the date when he enters upon office. And oath. Article 69. He takes oath before? Yes. Who administers the oath of vice president? President. So he takes oath before president. He takes oath before president. And what is the content of oath? You should write content of oath. First, content of oath. First, to have true faith. To have true faith and allegiance. To have true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India. To have true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India. And second, to faithfully discharge the duties related to the office. The duties related to the office. So this is the oath of the vice president. And now what is the condition of office? You should write condition of office. We have written 4 conditions in case of president. 4 conditions. But note that for vice president there is only 2 conditions. And 2 conditions are similar as president, as condition for president. Initially first and second. 3 and 4th which we have written is not for vice president. So what we have discussed in case of president, that a president cannot be a member of any house. So similarly, vice president should not be a member of either house of parliament or state legislature. If any such member has been elected as vice president, then it shall be deemed as he has vacated his membership from the date of entering upon to the office. So first thing. Second thing, he should not hold any office of profit. It is qualification and it is condition both. So only 2 conditions are there for office of vice president. So write first of all, first point, he shall not be a member of either house of parliament. He shall not be a member of either house of parliament or state legislature. of or state legislature, if such a person is elected as vice president, then he shall be deemed to have vacated it shall be deemed to have vacated the membership of the house from that date. So it is condition of office. Now vacancy in office. First is resignation. He can give his resignation to the president. So by addressing president, he can send his resignation to the president. So to president. Sorry. Yes. Two conditions. Sorry. Not only one. Second is he should not hold office of profit. Okay, completed. So resignation to president. Second, it is Article 67 and removal. Article 67. He can be removed from his office. What is the procedure of removal? What is the ground of removal? No ground. No ground is mentioned. Both are in same article. Article 67. It is related to term. Article 67 is related to term also. So term, resignation, removal, all these things has been given in same article, that is Article 67. So no ground has been mentioned for the removal of vice president. What is the process of removal? Any motion or in form of resolution can be moved only in Rajya Sabha for the removal of vice president, only with prior notice of 14 days. That is what we can write here. It can be initiated only in Rajya Sabha. First thing, it can be initiated only in Rajya Sabha. Second thing, "14 days prior notice is required," is essential. 14 days prior notice is required. So two conditions are there for the introduction of resolution for removal of vice president. What does it mean? It means that when notice has been served for removal, then after completion of 14 days, this resolution will be discussed in Rajya Sabha. and it will be put for voting. If it is passed by Rajya Sabha by majority of the then members of Rajya Sabha, by majority of the then members of Rajya Sabha, then it will be sent to Lok Sabha. Then it will be sent to Lok Sabha. And if Lok Sabha agrees, then Vice President shall be removed. So, what it says that how it is passed by Rajya Sabha? It is passed by Rajya Sabha with majority of the then members. Majority of the then members. What does it mean? It means that, consider, we have 245 members in Rajya Sabha. We have 245 members. The then members means, consider, there is vacancy of 15 posts. These are vacant. Then majority will be decided on the number of 230, and it will be 230 by 2 plus 1. Okay. In general, it is known as effective majority. Popularly, we say it effective majority. And in writing, it is written as the majority of the then member of House. So, you should write, if this resolution is passed by Rajya Sabha, if this resolution is passed by Rajya Sabha by a majority of its the then total members, majority of its the then total members, its the then total members, then it shall be sent to Lok Sabha. It shall be sent to Lok Sabha. Okay. So, in this manner, it is passed by Rajya Sabha. And how Lok Sabha passes it? It is said that when Lok Sabha agrees to it, it is written in the Constitution that when Lok Sabha agrees to it, then Vice President shall be removed. When Lok Sabha agrees to it means, Lok Sabha agrees to it means it is passed by Lok Sabha by simple majority. So, when Lok Sabha passes it by simple majority, then it is considered as that Lok Sabha agrees to it. So, Lok Sabha passes it with simple majority, Rajya Sabha passes it with effective majority. So, it is passed by Rajya Sabha by effective majority and it is passed by Lok Sabha by simple majority. So, please write down again. When Lok Sabha agrees to it, when Lok Sabha agrees to it, in bracket you should write, it is passed by Lok Sabha by simple majority. It is passed by Lok Sabha by simple majority. Bracket closed. Then Vice President shall be removed from office. Then Vice President shall be removed from office. And one point you can write: after the expiry of term of office, after the expiry of term of office, he shall continue to hold office, he shall continue to hold office after the expiry of term of office, he shall continue to hold office until his successor, until his successor assumes office, until his successor assumes office. So this is removal of the vice president. Now, if there is vacancy in office of president, then if term is going to expire, then it has been written in the constitution then that election shall be conducted before the expiration of term. That is, we should elect vice president before the expiration of term of current vice president. So election is going to take place for Dhankhad. And if there is casual vacancy, casual vacancy means due to death, due to resignation. So if there is casual vacancy, then within which time election should be conducted, it is not mentioned in the constitution. It is written that as soon as possible election shall be conducted. But what we have discussed in case of president, we have discussed in case of president that election shall be conducted within 6 months from the date of vacancy. We have discussed it, we have written it. In case of president, if there is casual vacancy, then election shall be conducted within 6 months from the date of vacancy. But this 6 month is not mentioned for vice president. And one thing more, if office of vice president is vacant, then who will act as vice president? It is also not mentioned in the constitution. It is also not mentioned in the constitution. Who will act as vice president? Because he has no such function. So we can write note. These are important facts for pre-examination. Note, first point. The election for vice president shall be conducted. Election for vice president shall be conducted before the expiration of term of current vice president, present vice president, before the expiration of term of present vice president. Next point, in case of casual vacancy, election for new vice president, in case of casual vacancy, election for new vice president shall be conducted as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Next point, vice president can be re-elected. Vice president can be re-elected, but it is not mentioned in the constitution. But it is not mentioned in the constitution. Because we have re-election of president is mentioned in the constitution. President can be re-elected. It is written in Article 57. Article 57 states that president can be re-elected for many times. how many times it is not written in the constitution. However, American president is re-elected once only. He can have only 2 terms. But in our country, how many times he can be re-elected, it is not mentioned. But re-election of the vice president is not mentioned in the constitution. But we have convention in our country that vice president can be re-elected in our country. So we have convention, but it is not in the constitution. Next point in note you can write, vice president receives salary allowances, etc. as ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Salary allowances, etc. as ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, not as vice president. As ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, not as vice president. Not as vice president. And next point, and next heading, functions of the vice president. Two functions are there. First point you should write. First point, he is ex officio chairman. He is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. He is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Article 64. This is Article 64. Next, he can act as president if office of president is vacant. If office of president is vacant. Article 65. Article 65. And one more heading, election disputes. Disputes related to election. Disputes related to election. Article 71. Article 71. We have discussed Article 71 in detail in case of president. So Article 71 is related to president and vice president both. All disputes shall be settled by Supreme Court, and other discussions which we had at that time. Okay, so this is the vice president. So today we have no more time, so we will be discussing tomorrow Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, Prime Minister, Cabinet committees, and all these things.